there, everybody. My name's Amy with Authentically Amy and the Dirty Quilter, and I just wanted to come on and give you a quick review of my thoughts on QuiltCon. So many people have asked what I thought about QuiltCon versus Houston, one versus the other, would I recommend? And so I thought I'd give you a little rundown right here. First of all, I went to Houston in October and I just came back from QuiltCon. Which did I prefer? First and foremost, QuiltCon. Now, I'm gonna say that Houston was lovely. It was a nice big convention center. There were lots of classes. People were lovely. The vendor floor just was a little bit more traditional, okay? And the classrooms. So when you walk into a classroom and you're doing a project, you're learning a skill very similar to as you would learn a skill at QuiltCon, but the end project itself was just a little bit more traditional in nature, okay? Less funky fabric, a little bit more traditionally oriented. The teachers were more into tradition, okay? The quilts were a little bit more quilt police oriented, okay? That helps you to understand. QuiltCon was a lot more, I would say, slightly younger crowd in general. The vendors, when you walk the vendor floor, even though it is smaller, I would say that I stopped at a much higher percentage of vendors at QuiltCon because more of them appealed to me, with solid fabric bundles, lots of Ruby Star fabric bundles, a little bit more modern take on fabric and patterns. Is there a little bit, like if you're into Liberty, yes, huge Duckadilly booth. Was there, Jen Kingwall was there selling, had her own booth with her books and was signing them and all of her patterns and templates. So that tends to run a little bit more traditional. But the amount of bag making supplies and patches and stickers and kind of those that whimsy aspect is what I really enjoyed about it. There's also a totally different sense of community at QuiltCon. When Ruby Star sets up, we're gonna do jumpsuit day on Friday, people dive in, not just like dip your toe in the jumpsuit water. It was jump in wholeheartedly, full on outfits, stickers, patches, people were giving away things, swapping things, just a fun, lighthearted, kind of almost more like party-like atmosphere. The quilts, when you walk through the quilt show, I just felt like there was a lot less focus on quilt police and a lot more focus on the message and the art and the expression, which I love. I mean, was there perfectly meticulous stitching, hand stitching, machine stitching, piecing? Yes, okay? I'm not saying that isn't there, that is there. But there are also pieces that you can see it was all about the artistic expression of the piece and not just about, is it perfectly bound and are the stitches all perfect, okay? Which I really enjoy, that there's a little bit of balance there. So I absolutely loved QuiltCon. So let's go over a little bit of the basics, right? Entrance for the 4-day QuiltCon for this year was between $50 and $60, depending on if you were a guild member and if you bought early bird or not. So that's 4 days admission to the quilt show, the vendor fair, and then they also have some demos that they have throughout the day in the middle of the vendor show. Kind of in between the vendor and the quilt show, there was a big stage with a bunch of chairs. So that's what's included in that price, okay? If you want to take lectures, those are additional fee. They range about $20 to $25 for a lecture. They're about an hour long and they're held like in a ballroom, okay? If you want to take classes, they are both 3-hour classes, like half-day classes and full-day classes. And the half-day classes range about 100, 125. Full-day classes about 200, 250, okay? You're kind of getting the feel, right? So it just depends on how much you want to spend and what your goal is from QuiltCon. I would say that you can spend between half a day to a full day just looking at the quilts. There are so many of them, and if you're going to stop and take pictures and kind of take them in, I think we spent probably about 2 or 3 hours walking the quilt show, and we could have spent way more. I still don't think we saw 100% of them. We saw most of them. But if that's not your vibe, know that that's part of it, okay? The vendor fair, we took all of Thursday to walk the vendor fair, okay? Did we buy a lot? Yes. Did we need a few additional times that we went down to the vendor fair to continue purchasing or stuff that we thought about? We're gonna think about that. We did. And then we took classes. So I'm not a lecture girl. I don't get a lot about listening to someone talk about quilting. I need to experience it, touch the fabric, use the tools in order for me to understand it. So the classes we took were fabulous, a little bit more geared towards something really tangible you could take with you. One of the examples was a color flow class that we took. I made 65 of these blocks during that class in the morning, and then we learned how to create that color flow, that movement with color. Another class I took was a quilted postcard, and I left, it was a half-day class, I left with 2 completed postcards, and I could have completed more. I just decided that once I was done with 2 and I understood how to do it, I was done for the day, and instead was going to use my remaining hour in Raleigh walking the floor one more time before I had to head to the airport. So do you need to go for the whole time? You absolutely do not. It really just depends on if you want to do classes and or lectures and how much time you want to leave for shopping and for viewing the quilts. Can you do it all in a day? I'd say a day is tight. If you want to look at all the quilts and do all the shopping, a day might be tight. You might be, but you can do it. You'll definitely get something out of a day pass. But I really just wanted to share my experience. I had a blast. I can't wait to go in 2027. Will I still go to Houston? I probably will, just to see if they can kind of change it up and grow with the times. I just think that it's been going on for so long that Houston just needs to kind of grow with us as we've all grown. And I think that that's what they're trying to do with some of the changes they're making in 2026. So that is what I thought about QuiltCon. Now, if you have questions about QuiltCon, is it worth it? Should you go? What do I recommend? Feel free to drop me a message in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you individually. But if you're interested, once again, QuiltCon is the Modern Quilt Guild's annual convention. It rotates where it is in 2027. It will be in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you're interested in going, the end of February 2027, Atlanta. Hope to see you there, and always feel free to reach out with any of your quilty questions in the comments. Thanks.